know my name. You know my name. You know my name. Know how you walk with me. Know how you talk with me. Know how you tell me that I am your own. So now I pour out my life to you. Here in your presence I am made new. So now I pour out my heart to you. Here in your presence I am made new. You know my name. You know my name. You know my name. You know my name. Know how you walk with me. Know how you talk with me. And know how you tell me that I am your own. So no fire can burn me, no battle can turn me, no mountain stop me. 'Cause you hold my hand, now I'm walking in victory. No power can withstand me, no giant can defeat me. 'Cause you hold my hand, no fire can burn me, no battle can turn me, no mountain can stop me. You hold my hand, I'm walking in your victory. 'Cause your power was within me, no giant can defeat me. You hold my hand, you hold my hand, you hold my hand, you hold my hand, you hold my hand. He knows my name. He knows my name. He knows my name. He knows my name. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won. For you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. And I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountain, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move. You move the mountain, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I'll see you do it again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in This is my confidence. You never failed me yet.
Good evening and welcome to our Tuesday night Word Aflame recovery. We meet here weekly. We start at 7, we open the doors at 6. Come out and join us. On the last Tuesday of the month, we do a live stream. Really excited for this tonight. I get to introduce somebody that's been a great friend to me, a great mentor, and is continuing to teach other men about the love that Christ has to offer. Please welcome Daniel Worthy.
Good evening. Good evening. How you guys doing? Great. Awesome. It is amazing to be here. It is truly a blessing and a pleasure to be able to come do this. I don't know if you've ever known for a fact that you have been in the will of God, okay? And by me standing up here and telling y'all what God's done in my life, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm fulfilling the will of my Creator, okay? Guys, my name is Daniel Worthy. I'm from this area around Little Rock, mostly out in southwest Little Rock. I'm 38 years old. I'm a single father, raised an 11-year-old daughter on my own. And I'm also a program director for a faith-based recovery center here called M18 Recovery. I just want to first start off by thanking the Word Aflame Church for allowing M18 to come out and play basketball on Thursday nights. That is amazing. I know it might not seem like a lot, but for these guys to get out and actually be able to have fun and be sober and start getting their bodies back working, it's priceless. I mean, we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It's great. Guys, so like I said, I grew up out in this area. My life, it started off really crazy. My very first memory that I have, I don't know how old I was. I know that I was very small. I was, none of them speakers that sit on the ground, the old speakers, so floor speakers, I was able to hide behind it. But I was that young and I was that little, and I was hiding behind the speaker and I was watching my father beat my mother bloody. And that's how it was growing up. It was like that until about 6 or so, but I would see my dad just beating my mom, and it would get really crazy. And so I developed at a very young age a unhealthy fear of my father, okay? And so you're not supposed to fear your dad like that, you know what I mean? You're supposed to have fear for your father, you know, as in reverence and stuff, yeah. And so growing up, it was like that, you know. And I'm gonna be honest with you straight up. I was not a good kid, okay? I'm just gonna be honest with you. I was hyperactive, and I liked to get in trouble. I didn't like to get in trouble, but I liked to do things that would get me in trouble. And so, man, I was in and out of the principal's office early on. Now, I was a bright kid, but I had trouble reading. And so I never would really like apply myself. I was too scared to get embarrassed, you know what I mean? And so I was always acting out, which put me in the class where kids act out. And so my school started off like that, getting in trouble. And I got in trouble a lot. I got a story for you. I was about 7 years old, and I was hanging out with a kid that was older than me. And we decided to go hang out, run around the neighborhood. Well, we come across this house that was kind of back off from the road. We decided, hey, you know what? We're gonna act like SWAT team and just break in and act like, I don't know, like we're SWAT team. I'm 7, you know? And so we broke in this house and we destroyed it. We vandalized it so bad. I go home. I've been gone all day vandalizing this house. And I go home and I get in the house and my dad's like, where you been? I'm like, I ain't been nowhere, you know? What are you talking about? And he was like, where you been? I'm like, nowhere. He's like, I know you're lying. And it's not until I'm a father now to realize how you can tell, you know what I mean? But I was lying, and I would not come off the truth. And so he whipped me. He didn't have to know the truth, you know what I mean? He whipped me because he knew I was lying. And I was like, and I gave it to him bad. I said, Dad, you whipped me for no reason. You know, how could you do that to me? and so I made him feel bad. And it was crazy, man. It was crazy because these sequence of events are funny. My brother comes in there and he's like, man, what'd you do? I'm in there sniffling and crying. He's like, what'd you do? What'd you do? I was like, I didn't do nothing. And he's like, come on, man, I ain't gonna tell nobody. I promise I ain't gonna tell Dad. I was like, they broke in the house. He's like, what? Dad? I mean, and he snitched me out, man. And so it was cool though because it wasn't but like 15 minutes later we hear at the door. Who could this be? It's Saline County Sheriff's Office. Well, hey, how you doing? Hey, is Daniel Worthy live here? Well, yeah, why? Well, he broke into a house. How do you know he broke into a house? You know? And my dad's like, well, the cop's like, well, because he wrote Daniel Worthy in green spray paint across the ceiling. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. They had me green-handed on that one, you know what I mean? But, you know, that's the kind of wild child that I was. I was always just doing outlandish stuff. And it got me in trouble a lot. And it got me a lot of whoopings. And me and my dad, we bumped heads a whole lot from way on. And because of that, you know, our relationship was fractured. But about 6, 7, I can't remember what it was, my dad, he got into treatment. And he started, you know, getting better. When he came out of treatment, he had found God. He found God in treatment. Yeah, and so he came out and he was like, hey, man, I'm about to turn my family around. So he got us into church. We started going to church out there in East End, and man, it was awesome. That church became our home. My dad became a deacon, and my mom taught Sunday school, and it was amazing. My dad drove the church bus, and it was like, okay, cool. But I can say cool now, but at the time, you know, I was a kid. I didn't want to hang out in church all the time, but that's where I was. So for a couple years, you know, my home life, as in my dad beating my mom, it was great. It was cool. You know, all the violence was gone. My dad stopped drinking. Wonderful. My dad became a sponsor, baseball coach, all this great stuff, right? Pillar in the community. And so when I turned 9, my mom got pregnant. She got pregnant with my sister. And this is like an amazing thing, right? I'm a 9-year-old. I've been the baby for so long, and I was kind of sour about it, but we'll talk about that another time. And so I was, you know, I was having a sister. This is going to be awesome. That's when the problem started. Now, I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time, but that's when the problem started. My dad, I noticed that my dad started back drinking. Just a little bit here, a little bit here. And then I was sneaking around one of his parties one night, and I saw him smoking a little grass. I was like, what the heck? And I was like 9, so I went home and told Mom. I didn't know it was weed. I didn't. I saw him passing a smoke. And so I told Mom, I said, hey, Mom, so you might want to get Dad a pack of cigarettes. He's having a share. You know what I mean? and so I started noticing this stuff. And then the tension started coming back up. My dad's anger would explode. And I didn't know what was going on. By the age of 12, I figured it out. My mom had an affair on my dad. And the way and how my dad knew that is because he had a vasectomy after he had me. So he knew without a shadow of a doubt that little girl wasn't his. But he didn't say nothing. He's like, I'm gonna be that baby's daughter. I'm gonna be that baby's father, you know, and which was awesome. And he tried. He did try, and he tried for a couple years, but he progressively started falling off the deep end. And one day he snapped. He came home. He called me first. He called me, and he was on his way home, he says, there's some guys coming to the house, and they're going to get you. They're going to take you. Do not let them take you. I'm like, what? I'm like 12. what are you talking about? He's like, they're coming to the house, get a gun, and sit in front of the door. Oh my God. Okay. I'll get the gun now. I'm sitting in front of the door. My brother walks in the door. I'm about to blow my brother's head off, okay? I am like so scared and just ready, and like, my dad comes home and it's like nothing ever happened. I was like, what's going on? Where's these people? And he's like, like it wasn't nothing. I'm like, what? It comes out, man, my dad was starting to dabble with meth. He was having psychosis. My dad would have horrible psychosis. He would beat me. He would do the most craziest stuff. He said people were trying to get him. I was stealing from him. I was in his drugs. I was in his money. You know, who knows? My dad started smoking weed with me about this time. I had been smoking weed, but now he starts smoking weed with me, and it wasn't too long to come out, and now he's selling it. He's selling meth. And that's when things really went left. My dad turned into a person today that I didn't know. But back then, I was a bad kid, remember? I was loving all the fast life, seeing the guns everywhere, the drugs, the money, the jewelry, all that stuff, the cars. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is cool. And so, like I said, I was smoking weed. My dad started supplying me with weed that I could sell myself. He got into where he was having me run his meth to the truck stop. At 13 years old, I was one of the rules in my house that if I leave my house with my father, I had to have a gun on me. I had to have a gun on me so I could have my father's back, because somebody was definitely going to try to get him, And so at the age of 13, I was with my dad, and we were out in North Little Rock selling drugs, and we met this chick. She came back to the house. Her and my dad did their thing in the bedroom, and come out, and my dad, like I said, he's bad psychosis, and so he goes into the kitchen, and the girl goes back to the bedroom. He comes out of the kitchen, and he's like, "Where'd she go?" I don't know. I mean, let's go back there. I'm sitting out in the living room just getting high and drunk, and at 13, and so my dad goes back there to the bedroom, and I hear a bunch of screaming and fighting and rustling, and then next thing you know, I'm like, what the heck? I'm watching his bedroom door, like watching the hallway, and next thing I know, he comes out, and he's got her at gunpoint, got a gun at the back of her head. He was like, she was in the dope. She was in the money. And I'm like, he's like, put your gun on her. Put your gun on her. I'm like, oh. And so he's like, get your gun out. I'm like, okay. And I got it right here. And he was like, of course, she is hysterical. I'm talking about hysterical. And my dad, he accuses her of stealing it. He makes her strip. He searches all of her stuff. And then while he's searching her stuff, man, I see that look when I know he's deep off into psychosis. And I noticed it, and I was like, whoa. And I put my foot down with my dad. And so we got this argument, me and my dad, about whether or not we were going to kill her. And this was a serious argument. This was screaming, My dad wanted to kill her, and he wanted to bury her on our property. And I was like, no, no, And so we fought and argued for a while, and then she's right there, and this is crazy. And finally, I was done with it. I was like, put your clothes on and get in the truck, And I was at the time I was ready to defend her, because my dad, he was completely gone. And so my dad, he snaps back out of it. He's like, oh yeah, let's go. And it was like nothing ever happened, like nothing ever happened. And so we get back to North Little Rock, go to drop her off, stop at a gas station. She goes inside, and they call the cops. Like, we don't know, though. We're outside, and the cops bum rushes. I get caught with weed, dope, pistol, money, scales, extra bullets for my gun, all that stuff at 13 years old. That was the beginning of a lot of incarceration. I went to Pulaski County Jail, and like I said, it was the start of it. Before I turned 18, I had already done 3 years incarcerated. From 13 to 18, I'd done 3 years. And it was for all kinds of stuff. I thought I was a criminal mastermind. Have you ever seen the movie Ocean's 11? You ever heard of that movie? Or it's like just, I thought I was a criminal mastermind. Okay. I could have been one of the villains on James Bond. You know what I mean? But I was, like I said, I did 3 years before I ever turned 18. And because I was getting to that age where I'm 13 years old, this is the most impressionable time on a young man's life. It really is. And up to this point, I have been raised by my dad for the last couple of years in straight drug world. And so that's the stuff that I've been picking up since I've been 11. And now I'm 13. Now I'm picking up stuff from the dude that's just like me. This kid right here who's in here for robbery. Or how about this kid who's in here for murder? You know? Y'all remember the Jonesboro shootings some years ago? I was locked up with them guys in the same room, you know? And so that's the kind of people I was raised by, was the system. And so I remember one time I got out of jail, I was 15 years old. My dad had moved to Conway, and my mom was like, I can't handle you. You can't come here. And so I was put back in my dad's custody. So I get to Conway, and things are different now. Now we're not living in this big, nice house. Now we're living in a little bitty, shanky apartment up on a hill, you know, just not a good place. And the drugs are gone, all the drugs, you know what I mean, the big drugs. The money was gone, the cars were gone. All that stuff was gone. The only thing left was a raging addiction and a psychosis just right around the corner. It was always something. And it was crazy. My dad was super violent at this time. We would get into fights. I would step in the middle of him and his wife's fights. I got my rib broke one time from getting hit with a chair, just being a bystander. You know, it was a really, really bad situation there. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on back before that, but now there's poverty involved, and it's even worse. And so I remember one morning I was asleep, getting ready to, you know, I was gonna get ready to go to school that day, but I was still asleep, and something strange happened. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something crazy was happening to me, and I couldn't explain it. I was like, and I just woke up, and I was like, what's going on? And then everything started going to black. I started passing out. And I hear a voice in my ear, and it says, I'm going to kill you. It was my dad. He had crawled into bed with me and put me in a chokehold while I was sleeping and tried to kill me in my sleep. I was able to move my legs around and put it against the wall and push myself, and we fell out of the bed onto the ground, and I was able to break his hold and get up, and we started fighting, and the next thing you know, like we were just all over the house, and the next thing you know, I'm outside, and I didn't know how I got there. I was like, oh, but we're fighting. He stops at the door. He's looking both ways. He said, don't you ever come back. Slams the door. And I realized, like, I'm in my boxers. I've been put out of my home at 15 years old, abandoned, fully exposed. You know? I've only been out of jail for like a couple months. Just started school at Conway. I didn't know anybody there. There was a payphone up the street, so I went up there in my boxers and called my mom's 1-800 number. Mom, Dad tried to kill me. Like he beat me real bad, and now he kicked me out of the house, and I'm sitting here in my boxers, and you know, and she's like, well, what are you gonna do? I said, this is it. I was calling my mom. She's like, well, I don't got no space for you, and I can't handle you. Okay. So I hang the phone up. And about that time, my stepmom pulls up. And I'm like, okay, they've changed their mind. They're going to let me back. And like, how sick is that I just got the brakes beat off me? A dude tried to kill me, and I'm going to go back. And she pulled up, and she said, baby, she goes, here's a $20 bill, and here's a bag of clothes. She's like, I got to get back to the house, or I'll get the same thing. And right then, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with any kind of help from anybody. You know what I mean? I'm done with my family. I'm done with that lifestyle. I'm done. And so, like, I put my clothes on, and here comes the school bus. I was like, go to school. So I jumped on the school bus, and I went. So at this time, because I just came out of this being incarcerated, the school did not want to let me just back in like just as a full student. So what they did is they said, you go to regular school for half a day, and then you'll go to this special school across town for half a day. Okay. So instead of going to regular school that first half of the day, I went straight to the other school. I don't know why. I didn't feel like going to regular school for sure, but I had people, I had a caseworker there, and I had people that knew my situation, and I walked in, and the director was like, what happened to you? I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you got dry blood all over your face. I was like, yeah. And for the first time, man, dude, I was tired of it. And for the first time, I stepped outside of my family with the problems. You know, I was always taught, keep the problems in the house, don't talk about it with nobody. And the first time I said, man, my dad did this to me. And she said, do you want to go back there? I said, no. She said, you know, do you want help? I said, yeah. So I went into foster care that day. The first 7 days I was in foster care, I went through 7 different homes. Because of my age, I was 15, and because I was a male and had been in trouble, nobody wanted to put their hands on me, which is understandable, you know, I understand. But that's just what happened. I went through 7 different homes. After 7 days in 7 different homes, I had exhausted their resources, exhausted them. And so they said, well, since you've been everywhere and nobody really wants to keep you for more than 24 hours, we're going to have to put you in a shelter up in Russellville. So I go to this shelter, man, and I'm incarcerated again. I'm incarcerated again. They put me right back into an institution, and I'm done. I'm done with it. Now I'm not asking nobody for help no more, no nothing. Because I was in this shelter, bro, I'm already, you know, I'm not like other kids. I've been in jail. I've seen bad, horrible things. I've done bad, horrible things. And so, like, I'm not like regular kids, you know? And like a teacher at that time wasn't just going to talk to me any kind of way, you know? And so there was an incident at school where a teacher said something to me, and I bucked up on him. I was like, what's up? You know, like, and so I was kicked out of school, you know, of course. And because I got kicked out of school, I went back they put me in jail. And there it was, right back to jail. When I was 17 years old, I was given the opportunity. I say opportunity, I was kind of forced. I got suspended from school again. I was in 12th grade. They suspended me from school, and they said, hey, we want you to get your GED. If you get your GED, we'll let you out of jail right now. If not, you can stay in jail for 6 months, and you can go to school next year. You know? And so I'm not one to be incarcerated at all. Like, that's like my number one thing. Like, I will fight to the death. Do not take me to jail. And so I took my GED, made a really good score on it, got out of jail, and they took me off probation. Then they emancipated me. So now at 17, I am a legal adult. I have been living on my own since I was 15, but now I'm illegal. And so I was like, this is it. This is me standing on my own 2 feet. I had a girlfriend, and because I had nowhere to go, you know, I was living with my girlfriend. I started working for a brother. Dude, we started like having like life. This is life. And, but it was a week before my 18th birthday. I was taking my GED scores, and I had applied to college. I was going to apply to college. Wanted to play ball, wanted to play basketball. Way too short, well, now I realize, but way. It was August 15th, 2001. I was in Conway. I had just woken up from a night of partying at a hotel room. And I had went to a friend's house afterwards. Well, me and a buddy jumped on his four-wheeler, rode down to this park. I ended up taking this four-wheeler and running it into a pedestrian bridge at 40 miles an hour. It threw me like a rocket across this canal, and I caught a handrail right here. What it did is it ripped the nerves out of my spine, the root and all. And it paralyzed my right arm. My right arm has been paralyzed since then. It's been paralyzed for like 20 years now. But just imagine this kid who finally gets a breath of air. I can breathe. All that baggage is behind me now. I got dreams, I got aspirations. I'm gonna do something in life. Change just like that. Everything that I thought I was, who I was, my identity was in my physical abilities. I could fight, I could play sports. That's where my identity was. And just like that, it was ripped away. I don't know who I was. You know, wouldn't talk to girls now because I thought, hey man, what's that girl? That girl don't want to talk to me. I got one arm, you know. I thought people looked at me different. It was really hard. It was really hard learning how to do. I was also right-handed too, so I had to learn how to walk again because it hurt my whole body, you know. And so I'm struggling through that, and I'm no longer like committing crimes, you know, like hurting other people or stealing or nothing like that. I'm not doing that no more. I told myself I'd never commit another crime. And man, I lost my job because of my wreck. We had to move out of the house that we were in because of my wreck. And one day, then this guy came by and he was like, "Hey, I got this lick. I got this opportunity that we could make some money." And it was breaking in this house. And anyways, that scheme got my door kicked in about 5 months later and sent me to prison on an 11-year sentence. Now, like I said, I've been in jail a lot before, right? But this is going to be my first time to ever be in jail with one arm. And they're sending me to Varner, which is probably one of the roughest prisons in the state of Arkansas. Call it Gladiator School. So I'm going down there, and I'm pretty scared. Not like shaking, but I'm like, man, I know something about to happen. And so I get there, and by the time I make it from the Sally Port to the barracks, I had already seen like 10 people that I know. I'm like, oh. I get in the barracks, and guy comes up that I already know, and he's like, hey, what's up, bro? And we're talking, and he's like, you want to smoke some weed? What? Yeah. I'm in jail? Yeah, let's do that. And so, like, I just got right into doing the wrong thing right off the bat. I knew the wrong people in there, you know, but in there it was the right people, and I was able to get plenty of weed, plenty of cigarettes. I was able to sell stuff, and that is where I really started developing my how to treat clientele, how to sell your stuff, how to ration it, all that stuff. That's where I started learning it for myself. Now, my dad tried to teach me when I was younger, but now I'm learning it for myself. So I come out of prison way worse than when I went in, you know what I mean? Way worse. I was actually in college when I went to prison. And so when I came out of prison, I was, you know, I had wanted to do the right thing, but I had already met the wrong people, and I had that idea in my head. And so I got into selling drugs. I got into it pretty big. It became my full source of income, my whole household's full source of income. I was driving back and forth to Texas. I had then got in with the cartel down there in Dallas, and that was my life. I would make 2 trips to Dallas a week, and I would, just sell the product that I picked up, take the money back, over and over and over, over and over and over, for about 2 years. And I was in with the cartel. There was no, I couldn't get out. I couldn't get less drugs. I was trying to get less, and they would give me more. It was almost every time I was getting a bigger quantity, and I was like, bro, like, y'all are setting me up to kill me, because they're going to give me all this stuff, all this stuff, all this stuff, until I mess up, and then they kill me. And I knew it. But I was in for the win, you know what I mean? Because I was getting high off the product. And I remember one day, man, I was sitting there, and I just had this episode where I thought I was getting followed, and I was like, dude, what is my life coming to? I could not see how I was ever going to get out of that. And I asked God. First time I talked to God in I don't know how long. I said, how do I get out of this? The next week, I got busted in Texas with a pistol and a bunch of dope on me. That's how. And so I go off to prison in Texas on a 15-year sentence. And that was scary, because when I was in jail, the first plea bargain was 40 years. That was the plea bargain. The sentence was 99, but they offered me 40 years. And that means, and because of the charges, I'd have to do half of it. Man, 27 years old, just had my daughter. She's 6 months old, and I'm done. And so, I didn't know what to do. And God told me, don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. And so I went to court and I told them, I'm not going to take that 40. They said, why not? I said, because it's 40 years. And then they said, well, came back, how about 20? I said, no. They said, how about 15? 15 is the lowest we can go. Like, that's my minimum I could get. My sentence guidelines was 15 to 99 years. And they said, how about 15 years? You'll serve 7 years and then you'll be back home. I said, dude, my daughter just is 6 months old. I said, no. And they're like, dude, you ain't got a whole lot of wiggling room. They said, what would it take for you to sign? I said, I'll take the 15 years, but I'm not doing 7 on it. And so they reduced some of my charges and made it look like it was, because I had gun and drugs, and so that made it what they call a simultaneous charge. And they dropped it. Ended up getting 15 years. Ended up serving 3 years on it. My last stretch, my 6 months. I had 6 months left, and they stipulated me SATP, which is like a drug treatment program. It's peer-driven, where the peers, they lead each other. And I went through this program. In that program, I met a guy named Derek Hess. He helped change my life. I would argue with him about Bible stuff, and he would just so patiently argue back, you know what I mean? Put up with me until I stopped arguing and I started listening, started reading, got that fire back in me. And or maybe for the first time ever, when I came out of prison, I was ready to take on the world. I knew that God had a purpose for my life. I didn't know what it was yet, but I was ready to find it. And I found me a church to go to. It was in Conway. It was a great church, but I was not ready to be honest. I was not ready to be honest about where I had been and who I was. I hadn't been in church since I was a kid. If I come in here, y'all are going to judge me. If y'all knew who I was, y'all would probably crucify me. You know what I mean? And so I lied to them. I lied. I told them that, they say, well, what do you do? I just got out of prison. I said, I own a business. So what kind of business you own? I said, a roofing business. You know what I mean? And so God is not going to bless a lie. He's not. He's not. And so God said, until you can be honest, you can go back and do what you do. Back and forth to prison, back and forth to prison. That's what I did. Until a couple years ago, I told God, I said, you know what? All I'm going to do is say yes. I'm going to say yes to what you tell me. That's simple. How simple is that? Yes. Okay, I'll do that. And so I came out of prison. I knew that I wanted to live like a Christian. I didn't know how. So I tried to get into Renewal Ranch. Didn't work. They didn't want to take me. I'd been sober for too long. And so on that day that I tried to get in, I met Blake Polston. Blake Polston, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that God had put that man in my life instantly. He was a pastor, you know what I mean? He was recovery minded. I was like, this is my guy. And I told him, I said, man, I want to follow you, man. I need help. He said, cool. He made me a part of his community. You know, and so now today, guys, I'm the program director for M18. I went through the program. It was amazing. They taught me how to apply the Word of God in my life. You know, reading the Bible, that's not it. I assure you, just reading the Bible is not it. You have to have application. You have to have application, you know. And so they taught me that. They taught me about the importance of community. They taught me about the importance of serving. They taught me about the importance of having fun, you know. And them are the four pillars that M18 stands on. The truth, community, serving, and fun, you know. And so, guys, today, man, like I said, I'm a single father of an 11-year-old girl, you know. God has completely restored me with all my family. My dad is no longer a meth addict. We still have our problems, but, you know, it's not like it was. Trust has been built back with my mother, my brother, my sister, my daughter. A little over 2 years ago, that little girl wouldn't say one word to me. Wouldn't at all. Dude, when your 8-year-old little girl won't talk to you because you've been in prison so much, I cannot tell you how that feels. To know you're a piece of crap. Let me tell you this, though. God completely and 100% restored. Dude, I assure you, you give it all to God. You might still go through hard times, but I promise you this, you won't go through them alone. You know? And so I'm so thankful today that I'm able to be up here and just tell what God's done in my life. In Revelations 12:11, he says that we will defeat the enemy with the blood of the Lamb and the power of our testimony. There's not a dash, a comma, a slash, a nothing between the blood of the Lamb and the power of our testimony. Nothing. Our testimony is what God has given us as a weapon to use. And so, of course, it's going to be a bad weapon. Yeah, it's strong, it's huge, yeah, it's good. And so just being up in here and being able to share what God's done in my life, man, it really is my pleasure. And I really feel like I'm fulfilling God's will up here. And I just thank y'all so much for allowing me to come up here and talk to y'all. Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's actually all the time that we have, but thank you so much, Daniel, for coming out. I really appreciate you. I love you, man. I think we'll just go ahead and close, right? Okay. Thank you.